Morning, we are here in Ellicott City, Maryland. Today we're going to be doing an 8x11 pond with a waterfall on the side. We're going to be doing some landscaping around this project. And the really cool thing about this project is that it's going to be tucked right in the front yard by a patio hangout area and the front walkway. Table, family loves to enjoy dinners out here, sit out here. And so what we're going to be doing is putting a pond right in this area. The goal is to be able to have the sights, sounds of the pond while they're sitting here having dinner or just hanging out in this area.
Hey, it's Mike from Oasis Water Gardens. From backyard ponds to breathtaking waterfalls, I'll show you the art of bringing natural beauty right to your home.
You may notice we have a really nice garden already on this one, so what we're doing is popping up some of these plants. We're going to be replanting everything here as well as a whole new palette for landscaping, some retaining boulders back in here, and we're going to be doing a landscaping package all through this area and all throughout this area where the pond's going to go.
A very important part of this design was to make sure that this was a super interactive pond. The homeowner was going to have fish, a few koi. We had to make sure that this pond was large enough to hit all these goals, close enough to this patio to be super interactive, and not too big so that it didn't overpower the space.
We got the shape of the pond excavation marked out now. You can see right here, we're trying to bring it as close to this patio area as possible. We're going to aim to have that water level just a couple inches below this patio. We got the waterfall in the back, and then it's time to start digging.
It's very important that we have the biofalls set to the correct grade before we start digging. This allows us to take that dirt from the excavation and pile it around that biofalls to create a natural looking berm for this waterfall.
Plumbing, skimmer, biofalls is marked out. Right now the biofalls is sitting a little bit too high, so we're going to dig this area in. We got to bring it down about 4 inches. We're going to go for 12 inches of drop. Since the yard is sloping out this way, every couple inches that we bring that waterfall up is going to create a lot more dirt that we're going to need as far as getting it to feel natural in the space. 12 inches I think is going to be a perfect height right here. We'll have our pipe going from our skimmer here all the way back around here to the bottom of the biofalls.
So right here we have our laser level set up on the patio. We shot the grade for where we want that water level, and then we adjusted it on the laser so that it's going to be at 12 inches above water level.
Here now we're checking the grade to make sure we're at the right height. All right, so you can see we're still about 2 inches too low at this, so we're going to pull it back out, put some dirt in the bottom, raise that up about 2 inches, and then that's going to give us that 12 inches of drop.
So while we adjust this biofalls to make sure it's sitting just right, we're also trenching for our pipe. In this case, that's an 1.5 inch flex PVC line that's going to be running from the skimmer to the bottom of the biofalls. Getting all this done now is going to save us lots of time later because all of our components are going to be in place. This first 1 foot shelf is now done in the pond. We're leveling that all out, and then we're going to come in, mark out our 3 foot section of the pond. That 3 foot depth is going to allow more water space for the future fish.
We got a fun surprise here. So right now, right in the middle of our 3 foot section, we have this giant stump. We've been working to pry it out. I think we're getting pretty close. We're gonna see if we can get a strap on this and pull this thing out.
It took us a few hours to be able to dig under this thing and get a strap on the stump.
Nice. Skimmer set over here at the opposite end of the pond as our waterfall. Biofalls is set here. These are all plumbed up and graded. We got our geotextile going down now. We're gonna press that into the excavation, then the EPDM liner.
As we're going around here, we're trying to get rid of as many wrinkles and folds as we can. We're also going to make sure that there's no tension on that geotextile underneath and no tension on that EPDM liner as we put it in there. That could create issues over time. We also want to add the cheap insurance of a geotextile on top of the liner for added protection. We are back for the second day of this project. Let me show you what we're looking to get accomplished today.
Right now, we're working on some of our stacked slate wall in this bottom 3 foot section of the pond. So we're going to look to get that all completed today. And then hopefully we'll have some time to set some of our big coping stones around the edge of this 1 foot section as well.
Working in a tight space like this does present some challenges. It becomes really time consuming to be climbing in and out of the hole to get the materials needed. So what we like to do is take all of this stacked slate and put it all around that pond edge where we can reach it while we're still in that deep section of the pond. Then we're going to divide this deep section into 3 parts, and each of us is going to take one of those sections to work on.
Right now we're finishing up this stacked slate wall in the bottom of the pond. We got a few more courses to go here. And while that is happening, Ethan's going through. He's going to take all of the bigger boulders He's gonna get those strapped up and he's gonna move them onto the ground so we can just grab and go.
Sometimes the best solution when you get stuck is to take a little lunch break, come back 30 minutes later, and sure enough, everything starts to fit together much more easily.
Today, I want to go in a little more detail about how we're rocking in the pond. Right now, we're going to start working on the waterfall area of the pond. So we're going to start by looking for a framer in here and here. Frame rock just simply means to frame out the waterfall. So the water is going to come in between it. The framers are framing out that drop. So I'm going to measure the height from here into the pond so I know how much grade we're going to have to work with. And then we're gonna pick a boulder that's gonna fit that height.
Taking our 4-foot level here, holding that right where that waterfall is gonna spill out, and then measuring down from there.
We have 22 inches from that first shelf in the pond to where that waterfall is coming in. So I'm looking to do a double tier drop is what the homeowner wanted. So one drop here and one drop into the pond. I'm looking at this boulder right here, and I actually think this one could be a decent framer. It's actually 22 inches from here to here, so that would be the full height we would need. We would position this with this facing the front so that we could get some water to drop off into this and then sheet off this way. We're gonna strap it up, put it in, and see if that works. Get this strapped up now, nice and level. All right, we got this strapped in. This is that little pocket that we were hoping to get water to sheet off and kick this way. Unfortunately, now that we're looking from over here, it's gonna completely block that waterfall view. So we're gonna take this out and then we're gonna try a different framer in here. Now we're gonna go ahead and get this one strapped up. We're gonna try that as our framer and see if that fits the space a little bit better. We got this set now as this left side framer for the waterfall coming into the pond. All right, we shot the water level. The water level's right up in here. So we're actually gonna need to raise this up. We're gonna pour some of our 3/4 gravel to bring this thing up about 3 or 4 inches. We got our first 2 waterfall boulders set. We're gonna have water coming off of this edge here. So we're gonna have a sheet coming down this way and then it's gonna kick that way, which is actually angled right towards the seating area right there. So right now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna measure from here to see how tall of a boulder we need for this framer out in this section.
As we were setting the boulders for this next section of the waterfall, the liner was looking a little bit tight, so we decided instead of risking it, we were gonna go ahead and do an overlap liner. So in this case, we took a new piece of liner, we were gonna cut that to shape, overlap that into the pond, which was going to create a shingle effect, and that was going to give us plenty of liner to work with to complete this waterfall.
Overlap is in and everything is prepped. We have this spot right here. We've put a little bedding, river stone down here. Now we're going to take a boulder and work it right in here as our frame stone.
When we're doing smaller waterfalls like this right off the edge, every little detail becomes extra important. That's why you can see us taking the level, and we're just trying to figure out exactly how water is going to interact with this boulder as it comes down the waterfall.
We picked a rock that was a little bit longer and we slanted it down in this direction. That's going to give us the opportunity to get a little water coming off this here. And so now the boulder that we've selected next is very similar to this one. It's long and angled, and that's going to create some symmetry in the waterfall. So we're going to work that one right into here and really try to make it look like these were paired together. We want the bottom of this to sit flush on this because water is going to actually drop down in here and come around this way. And so we're working some shims in the back of that to make that happen. We're going to have to adjust them slightly so that we can get this to push down and sit nice and flush on this spot right here.
Concealing the bottom of these boulders is one of our core tenets in making a natural looking water feature. This gives us the illusion that this has been here forever and that this was something that was unearthed and not placed here.
All right, we got our main framer set now for the waterfall. We're gonna work something back in here to hide the rest of this. This is from the sitting patio. So we'll have a drop that's coming this way, which is actually facing the house. And then we'll have a drop that comes this way exactly towards the patio. So you get 2 different angles. You'll see the side of this waterfall from the patio, and then you'll see the front of this waterfall. And then as you come along this path here, you'll have different views. You'll see the front of this waterfall and the side of this.
Now that we have the waterfall done, we're going to go around and we're going to start to set some of those larger coping stones all around the edge of this pond.
We have the excavator holding this boulder level, and we're just going underneath and we're putting some shims underneath this boulder so that we can lock it in place so that it sits level in the pond. We're going to shoot the water level on it just to make sure that it's hitting this boulder in a good spot. So that's where the water is going to hit.
down on this boulder, which is about halfway up, which actually will look really nice. We'll still have some of that nice character sticking out of the water.
We're going to use this same process for every one of our large coping stones around the pond. We're going to find a nice place for it. We're going to set it there, and then we're going to shoot the water level on it. Getting water to hit on the right spot of these coping stones goes a long way in getting that really naturalistic look.
As you're coming off this patio, this will be a nice boulder you can step out on. And we're checking our level here. It's telling us we're about 2.5 to 3 inches above the patio grade, which is actually perfect. We'll be able to backfill against that, and that'll be sitting in the water level exactly at the right height.
One thing we're doing as we place these coping stones is we're trying to strategically place these so that we can really bring out some of the curves to this pond.
The next boulder that we're setting is going to go right in this area, and we're going to try to get it to accentuate the curve of the pond here. It's a little bit too big as it was, so right now we're digging out this area here so that we can recess it just up in this area, and then the boulder will come and bring that nice curve to this spot in the pond.
When you're working with a natural product like these different boulders, there's so many different shapes and sizes, and to nestle them just right so it lines up with everything else, a lot of times it means folding that liner back, digging out an area, and being able to recess that boulder so that it fits that space perfectly and it flows with everything else.
Next, we're working this boulder in here. So we're gonna set it on top of the dirt here to where we're gonna want it in the pond. We're gonna spray out the back of the boulder, and then we'll dig that in so that this boulder is actually gonna sit perfectly nestled right into this spot here.
So we're marking the back of this boulder. That's gonna give us the spot that we need to dig. Then once we have that in there, we're going to actually have to build a base for this. It's really important that the water level is going to hit somewhere right in the middle of that boulder. Boulder on the right side of the pond with the straps on it is the last big one. And now we can go in between all of these large coping stones. We're going to take some of our smaller Pennsylvania boulders and some of our 5 to 8 Delaware River stones, and we're going to fill in all of these gaps.
We're finishing up this area here. Some water is going to kick off this way as it starts coming down. And now right now we need to find one that's going to go right in this spot to block this and seam up nicely with this boulder that is behind it right now. Then we'll be able to tuck that liner in here and get that totally hidden.
I'm looking to find a small rock that's going to hide the edge of that biofalls and fit with the rest of this rock work.
This is why it's really important to have a lot of different sizes and shapes of rocks when you're building a waterfall. This was the second one I tried, and it really fit the spot much better than the first one that I tried in there. So sometimes you just got to take them out, try a different one until it really fits perfectly within the context of the rest of the rocks around there.
Right now, we're really getting to the final details. We're going around, we're looking at any exposed liner. We're gonna fold that against the backs of our rocks. We're also gonna be checking the water level with our laser as we do that pond edging to make sure that we have that set high enough. Then we're gonna work on grading this out, making sure everything looks super smooth before we come in and replant all those plants we dug up at the beginning, and we're gonna install our new landscaping package.